Okay, so we're going to start looking at some applications of systems of equations. A couple of guidelines as we're trying to solve these word problems involving that are going to involve setting up a system of equations. The first thing you want to do is determine your unknowns. What is it that you don't know in the equation? We then use variables. We'll have two of them that we can use to represent our unknowns. If we have more than two unknowns, we'll have to find some way to represent them all using just two variables. Then we look for relationships in the equations that we can write down relating the two unknowns, or the two variables, sorry. Then we then solve the system of equations and then answer the questions. Very often solving the system will answer the questions. A few things that you can use: tables, charts, and diagrams are often very helpful. Little tools, and we'll see some examples as we look through some problems. Let's consider the following problem. Between checking and savings, Jill has $3,260. We're told that she has 4 times as much in checking as savings, and we'd like to figure out how much is in each account. So, step 1, we look for what we don't know. In this case, we don't know checking and we don't know savings, so we can let variables represent those amounts. I'll choose A for amount in savings because my S's and 5's look way too much alike. C for the amount in checking. Okay, we then proceed to look for relationships between checking and savings. And when we look at this problem here, we see that between the two, there's $3,260. Between the two, there's $3,260. So in other words, if I add the two up, I'll have $3,260. And we then continue, and we see that there's 4 times as much checking as there is in savings. Well, sometimes a lot of people read that, they see the word 4 times, and they see the checking, and they put 4 next to the C. And that may actually be right, but to see that it's right, a lot of times in these problems, you want to take the time to really think about what is going on in the problem. And to do that, a lot of times it's easier if you think numerically. So we might say, for example, well, what if savings was $50? Read that sentence then and think about what checking would have to be. Well, if there's 4 times as much in checking, then that would mean there'd have to be $200 in checking if there's $50 in savings. Or going the other way, if there was $100 in checking and there was 4 times as much in checking as savings, then savings would have to be $25. There's no other option. So you see the relationship here is actually the thing that gets multiplied by 4 is the savings. Another way is to kind of rephrase the statement. So, since there's 4 times as much in checking as savings, that means that checking is 4 times the savings. Okay, in either case, we can write the equation checking C equals 4A. And so think about numbers, or think about rephrasing it so that it's in a slightly better format. Okay. Once you have your system, it's then time to solve the system. So I would ask that you would go ahead and proceed to solve that system of equations. And we will go through it fairly quickly. I solved by substitution. Find out that A is 652, and then substitute back in to find out that C is 2608. Okay, at this point, we finish by answering the question. How much was in each account? 652 in savings, 2608 in checking. Okay, so this is an introduction to this process of solving a system of equations in a word problem. And we'll see some more examples in upcoming videos.